Constitutional Interpretation Number 538, dated 2002. Issue is the relevant provision of the regulation on the supervision of construction business regarding the replacement of registration certificates for the construction business in former war zones, consistent with the principle of equality and legitimate reliance holding. It is provided in Article 15, Paragraph 2 of the Construction Act that the regulations governing the supervision of the construction business shall be prescribed by the Ministry of Interior, thus generally delegating the power to the Ministry of Interior to prescribe the regulations governing the supervision of the construction business. Such clause of delegation, although failing to specify the contents and the scope of such delegation, can nevertheless enable one to infer from the construction of the law as a whole that the lawmakers have intended to authorize the authority in charge, based on its administrative and professional considerations, to set forth such rules and regulations governing the construction business as the requirements for the registration of such business, the guidelines for the construction business, and the personnel employed by such business, the matters subject to evaluation and supervision by the authority in charge, and so on. Under Article 7, 8, and 9 of the Regulation on the Supervision of the Construction Business, as amended and promulgated by Ministry of Interior on June 1st, 1993, a registration certificate in the form of either grade A, B, or C shall be issued to a construction business filing for registration based on such conditions of the individual business as the size of its capital, the number of qualified engineers employed by the business, and the amount of previous revenues generated by the same, etc. And based on the grade specified in such a certificate, the construction business is allowed to undertake construction projects subject to the restriction on the scale and the value of such project. Such norms which impose restrictions on the freedom of the people to run business are necessary to enhance public interest and to ensure the safety of the people and their properties by improving the technological level of the construction industry and assuring the quality of the construction projects. In addition, Article 45-1, an amendment thereto, provides any construction business in Jinmen County and Lianjiang County of Fujian Province that has been registered under the implementing rules for the supervision of construction business issued by Jinmen War Zone Executive Committee, or the provisional rules for the supervision of the construction business issued by Lianjiang County shall, within 3 years of the date of the amendment and the implementation of the regulation, i.e. June 1st, 1993, have its old registration certificate replaced with a new one, pursuant to Article 7 through 9 of the regulation. Failure to do so, or failure to replace the relevant certificate, will result in either reduction of the grade consistent with the criteria set forth in the regulation, or the cancellation of a registration certificate. Such amendment is introduced to cope with the fact that the original registration certificate received by any construction business pursuant to the implementing rules for the supervision of construction business issued by the Jinmen War Zone Executive Committee or the provisional rules for the supervision of the construction business issued by Lianjiang County is no longer legally valid upon the termination of such special governance in the war zone of Jinmen County and Lianjiang County of Fujian Province on November 7, 1992. The aforesaid provision is essential to implement the graded supervision of the construction business and to achieve uniformity in supervision of the construction business. In view of the circumstances that the replacement of such certificate may be done pursuant to Articles 7 to 9, and that a transitional period is granted to a construction business for the accomplishment of the process, the protection of the legitimate reliance is not violated. Furthermore, in light of the universal application of such provision to all the construction business in Jinmen County and Lianjiang County of Fujian Province, it is not in violation of the purpose of Article 15 of Paragraph 2 of the Construction Act, nor is it in contradiction to the relevant provisions of Article 7 and 23 of the Constitution with respect to the protection of the rights of the people. Nevertheless, in order to promote the sound development of the construction industry and to ensure the protection of the people's rights under the Constitution, it is proper that the condition of grading for the construction business and the restrictions on the scale and the value of the construction projects to be undertaken by such business and other relevant matters shall still be prescribed by law or any rule or regulation expressly enabled by law, since they involve significant restriction on the freedom of people to run business.